Hey everybody, this is Mike St. Pierre, Executive Director of the Catholic Campus Ministry Association, CCMA. We're recording this on Monday, and for many of us around the country, we begin kind of this weird time where classes have been moved online on most campuses around the country. If you have kids at home, probably their schools have gone to online for a couple of weeks at least. I know my kids have. And so it's just this kind of weird time where you may be invited to work remotely, or you may have been mandated to work remotely, or maybe you're on campus but your team is home and working remotely, and you're trying to make sure people are working, and yet things just feel different, kind of disjointed. So I thought that reflecting on this is kind of interesting because I'm on a listserv with a number of other executive directors in the Washington, D.C. area. And they were talking about, how do we get ready to work remotely? What's this dynamic going to be like? And I'm recording, I'm very fortunate. I have a study here at home. And so this is where I can work when I need to. I know that not everybody has that. And so really this video is just to show you some things that we do with CCMA. We've been a remote organization, at least our staff, for a number of years, and I've worked remotely for 4 years. And we've learned a lot from this. And I thought, gee, maybe this is useful to people out there who are kind of wrestling with this whole thing of remote work. So hopefully this will be helpful to you. And let's see if I can go through the slides here. Okay, so first of all, key points. It's all about perspective. We'll talk about team alignment being so important to this process. Being clear about your tools, and then just the emphasis on trying and starting over and trying again. So I always think when we are faced with a situation like this, and I've seen some nice conversation on Facebook, on the CCMA Facebook group, what does this crisis right now, this kind of new reality with the coronavirus, what does this change make possible? And I think if we're looking kind of apples to apples, like, okay, I have a lot of students on campus participating in a lot of things in person, versus I don't have a lot of students on campus and now I'm trying to still minister to and with them. If you're doing that apples to apples comparison, it's probably not going to work out too well. So I would say to reframe your perspective and say, what does this change make possible? And maybe there has been a mode of communication that you've wanted to try for a long time, but you just kind of put it off, or you didn't know the way to do that or the means by which you could accomplish that. Well, this gives you a little lab, if you will, a beta test to try something out. So just again, what does this change make possible? What does this crisis make possible? And if you're working remotely, or you have people on your team working remotely, just kind of keep this in mind, that most people who work remotely 1 day a week, 2 days a week, all the time, they actually really like it. And it's not because they're shy, and it's not because they're antisocial. It's that there are typically fewer distractions. If they have meetings, they're pretty purposeful, they're organized, and they are doing real work. I mean, I know for myself, and the CCMA board knows this, I track every minute that I'm working in the course of the day. So when I look back over an average week, I'm not counting lunch breaks, bathroom breaks, walking the dog breaks. I'm not counting a commute, any of that. I am only counting literal minutes and hours that I'm spending on CCMA related work. And I think a lot of people who are remote workers can kind of relate to that. There's not too much fluff time, and you can really focus and you can really accomplish things. So just kind of keep that in mind, that you might actually like this, and you might have members of your team who like this, and that might open other opportunities and possibilities down the road. So our staff, I live in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, but the CCMA office is just right over the border in Sterling, New Jersey, where we have a director of events and membership and an operations coordinator. Then our bookkeeper, Kim, is in Georgia, Atlanta, Georgia. So we're all over, and you can actually make this work depending on where you are, if you set it up right. You got to be clear with your team. This is really important. For example, when I hire people, I tell them, I do not want to see you in the office 5 days a week. I don't. We're a remote staff first. We have an office, we have a co-working space, and if you can focus and get working there and you have a desk there, that's fantastic. But you don't have to. And so we typically talk about the three-legged stool of places in which you can work when you're remote. Someplace in your home, a co-working space, which we provide, and then third would be, it could be a coffee shop, it could be a library, a quiet study room, wherever it might be, okay? But typically, a really productive person has multiple places where they're working. So be clear with your team that you do not expect certain things and you do expect other things. Now, you have to also be clear and articulate, these are the tools we're going to use, and you can't just leave it to everybody. I was talking to somebody last week and I said, what do you guys use for project management? And he said, well, we're a Microsoft team, so we use all the Microsoft tools. Fantastic. Maybe you're a Google team, whatever. But use this time now, this kind of strange, unsettled, destabilized time, to just be clear, how are you going to communicate with one another during this next couple of days, week, month, whatever it might be. So for us at CCMA and our staff, we use an app called Twist for chat. Maybe you've heard of Slack. Twist is much simpler, and we just prefer it. And so for a work-related chat, that's what we use. And we can go back and we can search and we can organize conversations, etc. Second, we use video. So if we can't be together in person, we'll do weekly one-on-ones via Zoom. You can use Zoom. By the way, Twist is free and Zoom is free up to 45 minutes. So that's really nice. So we use Zoom. And I know that some people might be saying, well, it's not the same as face-to-face. You're right, it's not, but it's about 80 to 90% the same. And that might be enough depending on your week and your needs for being in touch with one another. Third, we use an app called Todoist. Once again, it's free. And that is very effective for us just in terms of keeping organized. I can send a task to someone else. They can send it to me. This just seems to work for us. It's super simple. It's a little bit utilitarian. It's maybe not the most beautiful app out there, but it's a trustworthy app and it's a great company. So we use that just to keep ourselves organized. Doesn't mean that people can't use Post-it notes. I do occasionally, but Todoist is like a parking lot for the projects we're working on and what we want to move forward. And then for email and docs, we use Google Docs, we use Google Sheets, and we use Gmail. So those are our tools, and those are the ones that work. And occasionally, if you're the director or supervisor, you might need to give a little bit of charitable correction. If somebody is sending you a text message about work-related things, is it the end of the world? Not at all. But you might say, hey, by the way, let's put it in the chat. And that way it's a little bit more professional. And oh, by the way, you can go back and search for it later on. Or let's say somebody's using their personal email account. Again, end of the world? No, but you might just say, hey, just for future emails, make sure you're using the fill in the blank email service, because that's what our team uses, okay? So be clear about your tools and don't be afraid to give a little bit of correction. Try and try again. It took me probably 4 or 5 months to really get into the groove of working remotely. So be compassionate to yourself and be compassionate to your teammates. Most people don't have a home office. Most people, they might be working at their kitchen table, their dining room table, maybe even a spare bedroom. I mean, who knows, right? But be compassionate and just realize it's going to take time. And you might not get 40 hours of quality work in during this time each week. You might get 30 hours. You might get 28 hours. I mean, whatever the magic number is for you and your team, just be compassionate with yourself and with one another. The key is just to keep making progress. That's really what we're aiming for, making progress. And the more communication, the better. You want to trust one another and have a high degree of professionalism, and you just say, look, you're an adult, I'm an adult. I trust you to be working on the key critical things. And we have those tools. So this is the way that we know what we're working on. You can see it right there. There's really no hiding it. You know what people are working on, but you have to trust one another. It's so critical. If we can help in any way, please make sure, shoot me an email, give me a call, check out our website. If you want to talk to any of our team members and get their perspective. I think it'd be similar, but maybe there might be some wrinkles to it. But you can do this. And again, keep asking yourself, what does this unique time, this crisis, if you will, what does it make possible for our team? Thanks for watching.